Throughout the evening, we will introduce you to our Legend Award honoree with a series of videos. Our honoree is very special indeed. Bob Keith, co-founder of TL Ventures, has a long history in the Philadelphia area, having initially in the first part of his career spent 22 years at Fidelity Bank, where he funded many early ventures and venture firms in Philadelphia. Under his tenure, the financial institution grew in terms of market expansion, branching out into areas such as investment banking. Venture capital was next on Bob's agenda. Sit back and enjoy our first video.
With bankers, when you're talking about early stage companies, there's a natural aversion because they know that's the highest risk you can take and they don't want to look bad for the bank or themselves. So they're usually not interested. And that's not too surprising. But Bob had a broader sense of purpose than that and showed an interest and followed up and did some early stage loans successfully. And I appreciated his openness, his sense of humor, which is rare in a banker, and his ability to absorb new ideas, startups, and make a decision they weren't all bad. But you had to be careful, of course, as a bank lender. But he was able to do that, and we ended up making a loan or two together.
You know, I'll tell you a story about the office now, and I think it describes Bob better than anything else. The phrase in the office is, let's ask Bob. I mean, that's what everybody says. Let's ask Bob. If there's a business problem, especially as it deals with judgment about people, let's ask Bob. I think all of us have done enough deals that you can look at a set of numbers and make a good decision. But when it comes to looking at management, when it comes to looking at somebody's moral sort of fiber, let's ask Bob. And I think that's really says what Bob was 35 years ago, and it says what Bob is today. He's a great judge and a fair judge of people.
I came to Philadelphia in 1981 to start a biotechnology company with the backing of GE Venture Capital, and was introduced to Bob, who was then a rising star at Fidelity Bank. And after one meeting, he provided bank capital to help us expand the runway for the company. And just based on the personal connection and relationships and the belief in the business and with the backing of GE, he's quite the risk taker. In my opinion, the word partner is overused and at times abused, especially in the investment business. And I've been around Bob for so many years, I can say proudly that he's my partner, and that's with a capital P.
But I have a story to tell you how savvy of an investor Bob is. I first met Bob back in 1994 when I was looking to raise capital for a company by the name of US Interactive. And I went in to see Bob after being introduced and laid out a plan of where we were going to spend $2 million and build US Interactive into the next digital marketing agency. Bob was pretty impressed. After a number of questions and about an hour later, he asked that I come back and provide him with a plan for $5 million. How was I going to put $5 million to work? I dutifully spent the next 30 days putting that plan together, came back and presented it to him. And then Bob looked at the plan, looked at me and said, great, I'll give you $1 million. So the rest of the story is we took that $1 million, my partners and I, and we built a company called US Interactive and turned it into 800 employees and took that company public in 1999. And it was because of Bob that we were able to have that success.
Our Legend Award honoree has had a decades-long impact on the community and is a legend for many reasons. Let's take a look at the video and learn why Bob Keith embodies the definition of a legend.
I'm surprised that after all these years he's still talking to me, since I tried to kill him about 8 years ago. We had first been doing some work together. I figured what's the best way to get to know him better but to play golf with him. So we're playing golf at the Ace Club. We're on the 9th hole. We're driving in the same cart together. He hits his drive, I hit mine. We're heading to his golf ball, which of course was a lot shorter than mine. we have to go down a hill heading towards a creek. Well, it became clear, we were playing early in the morning, there was a lot of dew on the ground, that the golf cart was starting to slide. So I said to Bob, jump out of the cart now. He's like, no, and Bob was always tough guy, he can handle it. He goes, no, I'm fine, the cart's gonna be fine. I said, Bob, we're starting to slip. He said, no, we're fine. Well, as the cart started to actually skid to the right, Bob jumped out of the cart, and I'm trying to control the cart. The cart's doing a 360, and I'm watching as one of my favorite new clients is rolling down a hill, grass all over him. The cart is swerving. I'm trying to control it from running him over, while at the same time keep him out of the lake and keep the cart out of the creek. Well, suffice it to say, it was a very embarrassing moment. We laugh about it now. Class guy, high character, but tough and smart.
Bob is a guy who stays in there when the going gets rough. And I've seen that in his own work. When companies have difficult times, Bob's there, he stays there. He certainly did that in the relationship with me. I mean, I remember when we had a crisis here or there, Bob would be the first guy who would get together with me, talk me through it. And he always let you know he was there to work through it. He didn't always agree with everything. He didn't always know how things would turn out. But he's a guy who enjoyed staying in the trenches and didn't desert the field of battle. And so there was something about that kind of persistence, which I think also has a certain courage attached to it, that I always admired about Bob and that I learned a lot from.
The story that is most personal for me is when I started Hamilton Lane, which is the company that I'd founded, the investment management private equity company. And Bob was instrumental in that, both in giving me guidance as well as in providing personal moral support. It was a particularly difficult time for me. Starting a new company is awfully nerve-wracking. It provides a tremendous amount of pressure, both financially and otherwise. And in the early days, Bob was as much father, mentor, as he was business colleague, supporter. And although Bob was an initial investor in Hamilton Lane, more important than his investment in the company was his personal undertaking to believe in me and support me through those early days. And that's stayed with me in terms of how I feel about Bob for forever, and will forever inform my view of Bob.
Before we come to the actual presentation of our Legend Award this evening, I would like to showcase our final video presentation of testimonials. Please enjoy.
After ICG went public in '99, we had numerous requests by Fortune 500 CEOs and large investors to meet. The strangest request was from a gentleman named Prince Alawid from Saudi Arabia. And he fancied himself as a great technology investor, and he was looking to make a big investment in the technology internet space. So he called our office and asked if I could come up and meet with him along with Bob Keith, our chairman. Fast forward, we arrive at the Plaza Hotel, and Prince Alawid has rented the entire top floor. We go up the elevator, we walk out, and we have to go through 3 different levels of security to reach the prince. We walk into his room, and at least 15 TVs going on at once. And he's sitting there with his Citibank advisor looking at the screens. We sit down, and we start having a conversation, and he's never really looks at us. He just sort of looks at the TV while he's asking questions. And I was 36 or 7 at the time, and really, I'm not sure he was that interested in what I had to say, but he was absolutely interested in what Bob had to say. And it turned out to be an hour meeting, extraordinarily productive. And as we picked up the papers 2 days later, and I remember in the USA Today, Prince Alawid invests $50 million in ICG. Bob was instrumental in convincing Prince Alawid to invest in us.
So at one point in the post-2000 era, our region, which has never had an abundant supply of early stage capital, had less early stage capital. And as chairman, Bob felt strongly that it was incumbent upon Ben Franklin to try to form a fund that would be there for follow-on investment to some of our companies. not solely that, but could be a source of capital to follow on for some of our firms. So he worked with the board to create the concept and management to create the concept for a fund, went out and recruited management for the fund, led the board and Ben Franklin to being the lead limited partner in that fund and the general partner, and personally invested in the fund and set the example for the other board members and others in the community to support this activity. Stage 2 was formed, it's fully invested. It's now on to its second fund, had its first close as Rittenhouse Ventures. So clearly it was a need in the community, and he stepped forward to meet it.
So family for my father is everything. There's nothing that he won't do for his family. His favorite thing in the world is spending time with his family. A guy could not have asked for a better father growing up. He had some tough circumstances growing up himself. His father died when my father was young. And quite honestly, I think he's spent the rest of his life kind of making up for that with his own family. I think one of the charitable foundations that he set up that he's more proud of than any other is he set up a trust at the Haverford School for boys with single mothers, because I know that he had a tough time in high school dealing with all that. You know, they were always wondering where the money was going to come from and all that, and so I think it makes him feel really good to be able to give back and help people out who are in a similar situation.
The time has come. You have watched the videos and gotten a sense of Bob Keith. Many know Bob Keith as the leader of TL Ventures and the consummate venture capitalist, helping to launch the careers of many successful serial entrepreneurs in this region and beyond. Bob is Mr. Exit, overseeing a firm that has produced 30 IPOs and 50 M&A events. The success achieved by TL is unparalleled, and it has afforded Bob the opportunity to continue to back entrepreneurs at an early stage as an angel investor. He still gets incredibly excited by the next great technology and the impact it can have on businesses and consumers. What you might not know is that for decades, Bob served at the helm of many organizations. You heard from many of them tonight, all in our region. As chairman of Safeguard Scientifics and ICG, now Actua, Bob quietly, yes, quietly with no limelight, helped to direct the strategy and investment activities of some of the most well-known firms in the region. But it does not stop there. Bob served as chairman of Ben Franklin in the $400 million reinvestment fund for many years, where he helped guide 2 firms that have left an indelible mark on our community, in the critical seed funding of top entrepreneurs, and in the seeding of neighborhood revitalization projects, respectively. Bob is a gentleman who cares deeply about his community. Our sponsors for the Legend Award are Actua and McCarter & English. Actua is a cloud company focused on transforming vertical and highly specialized markets. With close to 1,000 employees, Actua focuses on growth, and it shows in their results. At McCarter & English, they believe that understanding their clients' goals is the backbone of their long-term success. As a full-service law firm, they focus their attention on applying strategies that will complement and ensure the growth and stability of each individual client. Please join me in welcoming Buck Buckley of Actua and David Soren of McCarter & English.
Dean, thank you very much. In attempt at forced, witty banter, I have to say that it is exciting to be here tonight, sort of like the Academy Awards. It's an honor and a privilege to acknowledge Bob in this remaining video.
Reflecting on the past helps it inspire us towards the future. A lifetime of achievement does not happen by chance or luck.
A lifetime of achievement is accomplished through core values, an understanding of time, circumstance, and sometimes just a gut feeling of knowing when to take a step towards the unknown.
In our time-honored tradition of looking back and recognizing the body of work accomplished by one individual, we must realize and appreciate the journey. A journey not measured by time or distance.
A journey where moments define character and influence for the better.
Tonight, we honor an individual who has graced us in this region with a lifetime of goodwill and spirit.
And yes, along the way, we have all learned a lot from this man's knowledge, expertise, and his contributions in building our region.
Congratulations, my friend.
Bob, first I'd just like to thank you for all your help and all your mentorship over these last 25 years. And congratulations on this award.
So, Mr. Keith, no one is more deserving of an honor than you are, my friend. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Dad.
Bob, I just want to say congratulations. I'm so proud of you winning this award, and I'm proud to be your partner over so many years.
You are one of the outstanding pioneers and veterans of the business. Congratulations again.
Bob, congratulations. Well deserved. You're the best.
Congratulations, Bob. A long overdue recognition.
Congratulations, Bob. You've had a tremendous impact on this region.
So, Bob, congratulations. If anyone deserves an award like this, it's you.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of ACTUA and McCarter and English,
We are honored to honor Robert E. Keith Jr. with the 2015 Legend Award for Lifetime Achievement.
Your contribution to this community and the hundreds of entrepreneurs you've helped, including me, is truly remarkable. And it's my honor and privilege to present this award to you tonight.
So I'll keep it mercifully brief. I'm over 70 years old. It's already past my bedtime. And the other thing I want to say is that, speaking of 70 years old, they didn't tell me about the teleprompter. And I guess they figured I just didn't want how to make it work. So I had to type out my comments. Everybody else, of course, sounded great because they had a teleprompter. And I do want to correct the story that Mike Heller told. Mike actually pushed me out of the cart. Those of you who know Mike, you probably got a sense of him being up here, very, very competitive. And so even though he's a great golfer, he wanted to make sure that I wouldn't play well enough. So he pushed me out of the cart. The other thing I need to do is go home and look in the mirror and see if I can find that guy named Bob. Because those were outstanding comments. And frankly, that's not the guy that I know. But I appreciate it anyway, and I will treasure those comments in all seriousness. But aside from recognizing my age, which I've had to acknowledge, tonight really caused me to think about the entrepreneurial community and how has it evolved and how I've observed it and tried to participate in some of the ways that were described tonight. And let me start by saying I owe all of you, particularly the entrepreneurs, a vote of gratitude. I can truly say it has been an extraordinary experience. The chance to see and hear the next idea for a business, the chance to continually experience the ingenuity, the energy, and the resilience of all of you entrepreneurs. You are truly an important backbone of our economy, regional and national, and have had a significant impact on the way people live, their health, their ability to communicate, and the ability to learn. It may sound overly dramatic to some, but I liken you to the people who explored and built this country. But what's happening in our region today, and you heard a lot of it tonight, as opposed to a few decades ago when I started down this road, can be characterized by the words energy, organization, and recognition. Make no mistake, there are a number of successful entrepreneurial businesses in this region launched over the past several decades, several of which have gone on to be big businesses. But on a relative basis, it's not a long list, especially when you think about it in contrast to what is happening as we speak. Looking back, I'm thinking about businesses like Comcast and the Roberts family, QVC and Joe Siegel, who also started the Franklin Mint. My friend Al West is here tonight, who started SEI. Peter McCausland, who started Airgas with some money from the bank that I was at. And Graham Wood, who started Wawa Food Markets, where I sat on the board for a number of years. So it's been an extraordinary experience for sure. And as I say, it's the energy that's really worked. I do want to digress for 2 seconds, even though it's getting late. And I will tell you the QVC story. I'm sorry Pete Musser's not here tonight, because Pete and I love to tell it together. But what happened was at QVC is that they had gone public. They had raised the money to build the infrastructure. They're ready to open the doors and start competing with Home Shopping Network. And they didn't have any capital left. The public markets were closed. So Pete Musser, in his inimitable style, because Safeguard was an investor, along with Comcast, calls me up when I was at the bank and says, you need to come out here. I need you to come personally. Don't send one of your folks. Just you come out. So I came out and I met Joe Siegel. Joe Siegel was a phenomenal entrepreneur, but not the most easy guy in the world to talk to or work with. So Joe presents me with graph paper, with colored pencils, and his projections for the next couple of years. Well, I was a banker. I looked at these and said, there's no way. So we left. I said, Pete, I just can't do this. So in Pete's inimitable style, he said, Bobby, let's go to lunch. So we went to lunch, and you can figure out the rest of the story. We lent QVC $3 million, and that is the year that they were Inc.'s fastest growing company. It was a phenomenal story, and it's the first real experience I've had with venture capital. So then the venture capital business really started here in the 70s and 80s, as people have talked about before, with the Buck family, started TDH, and then went on to form Philadelphia Ventures, then came to town with the help of a fellow named Ray Rafferty. So as a banker, as Dean had talked about earlier, we invested in a bunch of these funds and others that were started through our holding company, partly because I admired what they do or did, but also because I thought it just made good sense as a banker to help create these companies who would then become customers. Today, unlike those early days, there's an organized community around entrepreneurial efforts. The entrepreneurs like all of you, the organizations like PACT, and too many different groups to mention, many of whom are here tonight, provide funding, advice, and places to share ideas and think about common problems. I was particularly intrigued by the recent article in Technically Philly about the various technology clusters in Philadelphia. 30 years ago, these didn't exist, nor did many of the funding sources which are active here, particularly for seed stage businesses. I do have to call on my friends at Ben Franklin Technology Partners, with which I was associated for many years, just become one of the most active investors in the country, and as a not-for-profit, truly a unique model. And then something else has been added to the vitality of the region as well. That is the publications such as Technically Philly, City Biz, and the Online Business Journal. There's not a day that goes by there's not an article about a financing, a sale, a merger, or some issue covering an entrepreneurial business. Just the fact that there's so much to talk about and report on is a major change and development. To me, this all adds up, in contrast to the years gone by, to what has now become a mainstream phenomenon in this region. The entrepreneurial efforts have become an important part of the community with lots more promise, as long as the energy and attention is sustained, which I truly believe it will be. Thanks.
Congratulations, Bob. This honor is so deserving, and we hope that you continue to have the kind of impact that you've had with the investments that you're making.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
Now what?
You can head out back. Bob's impact has really spanned this community from its inception to the present day. And his career is just unbelievable, remarkable. And most importantly, he's impacted countless numbers of entrepreneurs that go out to take risk, And as you heard, it's because he took those risks. And those people ultimately gave back and continue to give back just like Bob did. Just an incredible, incredible role model. Again, another round of applause for Bob Keith.